You've been lied to about how civilizations are born. No, Rome didn't just appear with togas, temples, and emperors snapping their fingers. The real foundation of Rome is far more brutal, poetic, and, believe it or not, relevant to your own life than you think. What if I told you that the birth of Rome started with blood, wolves, betrayal, and a vision? That before there was glory, there were twins abandoned by a river and raised by a wild beast. Not exactly your standard how to build an empire blueprint, huh? Most people only hear about the Roman Empire when it's already at its peak. But what about the dirt, the doubt, the dreams? What about the mistakes and the myths that shaped it all? This story isn't about statues, it's about survival. About how Romulus and Remus, caught between fate and fury, sparked a fire that never went out. And here's the kicker: many of the same principles that built Rome still build greatness today. If you've ever felt like you were starting from nothing, like the odds were stacked against you, this journey through the foundation of Rome might be exactly what you need. Because once you understand how the world's greatest city was born, you'll never look at your own beginnings the same way again. But first, be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on the notifications. And welcome to the Curious Dome. Picture this: two abandoned babies floating helplessly down the Tiber River, only to be rescued not by humans but by a she-wolf. Sounds like a movie, right? But this is how the story of Rome begins, or at least how the Romans chose to tell it. Romulus and Remus weren't just characters, they were symbols of something deeper: survival, destiny, and raw ambition. In a world where myth and history blurred, the foundation of Rome had to start with the divine, the dramatic, and yes, the deadly. And let's be honest, who wouldn't want the birth of Rome to be wrapped in the wild howls of a wolf under a Roman moon? Now here's the twist. Brothers, united by fate, torn apart by ego. When Romulus killed Remus, it wasn't just sibling rivalry, it was a metaphor. A foreshadowing of the inner conflicts the Roman Empire would face time and time again. Fratricide, brutal as it is, became the price of vision. Romulus, the survivor, the founder, built more than walls. He built identity. Ever felt torn between loyalty and ambition? This myth speaks directly to that. Every empire, every dream begins with a painful choice. And from that bloody moment, Rome rose, not with grand armies or golden temples, but with one man's vision carved into the hills. The birth of Rome wasn't a peaceful cradle song. It was a battle cry, and that cry still echoes, especially when you walk through what was once the Palatine Hill. That's the magic of myth. It turns the ordinary into destiny. So next time someone tells you legends are just bedtime stories, remind them that the foundation of Rome was laid with fangs, fire, and fraternal betrayal. But what if that myth was only half the story? Think about this. What does it mean when a city claims the god of war as its father? That's exactly what happens in the myth of Romulus and Remus. Being sons of Mars wasn't just a cool origin story, it set the tone. Rome wasn't meant to be soft. It was born to conquer, to fight, to endure. The foundation of Rome carried this divine stamp, this mark of fate. Like someone born into a legacy, Rome had no choice but to rise. When a place is birthed by myth, every stone feels like it has something to prove. But there's a darker thread woven into the legend too. The murder of Remus. It's not just a detail, it's a message. The birth of Rome came with sacrifice, not just of blood, but of unity. That fratricide speaks volumes. Ever worked on a team where egos clashed, where visionaries couldn't agree? That's Rome. The early Roman Empire reflected this chaos, strong, brilliant, but always on the edge of internal collapse. The myth foreshadowed reality. It's like the story was whispering, strength without harmony comes at a cost. And here's the kicker, this wasn't just a story for kids or poets. The Romans believed it. They built their politics, their values, their wars on it. Romulus wasn't just a founder, he was a blueprint, strong, flawed, determined. The foundation of Rome wasn't perfect, but it was powerful. That's symbolism. It shaped centuries. And just wait, because the next part of the story takes us from poetic myths to dirt, ruins, and real shovels in the ground. All right, let's put the myths aside for a second. Time to roll up our sleeves and dig, literally. While the story of Romulus and Remus fired up imaginations, archaeologists were busy scraping through the layers of time. What they found? Traces of huts on the Palatine Hill dating back to the 8th century BC. That's right in the ballpark for the birth of Rome. No wolf tracks, unfortunately, but plenty of ash, clay, and wood. It's like finding the fingerprints of a city, just learning how to walk. Now think about this. Burials. Yep, ancient graves, carefully arranged, tell us a lot. These weren't scattered remains. They were organized, structured. That means community, rituals, respect for the dead. So while the legend talks about divine bloodlines, the soil tells another story of people, families, and beliefs. You start to see how the myth of the foundation of Rome dances alongside its history. The Roman Empire didn't sprout overnight. It grew from small, deliberate steps. From every cracked ceramic pot Rome speaks. Even everyday tools reveal something huge. Imagine holding a piece of pottery used by someone 2,700 years ago. Maybe a merchant, maybe a mother. It's humbling. And it shows Rome wasn't isolated. Artifacts link it to Etruscans, Greeks, even early trade routes. That's not myth, that's movement. So while we love the drama of Romulus and Remus, there's something quietly epic about a shovel hitting a stone that hasn't been touched since the foundation of Rome began to rise. But wait, you'll see how geography made that rise inevitable. Let's talk location, because in real estate and empires, it's everything. The spot where the foundation of Rome took root wasn't random. Nestled between the Tiber River and a cluster of hills, this slice of the Italian peninsula was a strategic jackpot. Water for survival, hills for defense, and plains for farming. Picture a startup with access to capital, connections, and protection. Rome had all the ingredients. So, when Romulus and Remus picked this area, they weren't just lucky. They were prophetic. The hills, the famous 7 hills. But in the beginning, it wasn't about all 7. It started with a few, the Palatine, the Capitoline, maybe the Aventine. Each one became a piece of the puzzle. Like neighborhoods in a growing city, they slowly stitched together into something greater. Walking on those hills today feels like walking through the very lungs of ancient Rome. You feel the heartbeat of a city that grew not from force alone, but from smart, calculated geography. No wonder the Roman Empire spread from this nucleus. And the Tiber, it wasn't just a scenic river, it was a lifeline. Boats came and went, ideas flowed, trade blossomed. Think of it like Rome's first Wi-Fi connection, constant data, endless interaction. That access meant influence, and influence meant power. The birth of Rome happened in the perfect setting, and when you understand the lay of the land, you realize no empire is built by accident, which brings us to what the land still hides, and what archaeologists have dared to uncover. So what does a bunch of old huts and broken bowls really tell us? More than you'd think. On the slopes of the Palatine Hill, archaeologists uncovered remnants of primitive homes, real structures, not just symbolic ideas. These weren't grand villas or marble palaces, but they told a powerful story, that by the 8th century BC, the foundation of Rome was already in motion. It was humble, sure, but don't let that fool you. Every empire, even the mighty Roman Empire, starts with shelter and fire. Now zoom in on the tombs. The burial sites from that period are surprisingly advanced. They weren't just holes in the ground. They had structure, purpose, and ritual. That means early Romans had a social system. They weren't savages wandering aimlessly. They honored their dead. You see, while Romulus and Remus speak of destiny, these graves speak of reality. They show a society growing, building, learning. It's like peeling back the layers of time and finding out that the myth wasn't just fantasy, it was based on something very human. And oh, the objects. Imagine holding a ceramic bowl from the dawn of the birth of Rome. Maybe it held soup or wine or grain. It's a tiny time capsule of someone's day-to-day life. Tools, pottery, even bits of jewelry have been found, showing us that Rome wasn't just copying others. It was already trading, adapting, evolving. These findings link Rome to a network of cultures, from Etruscans to Greeks. And just like that, we shift from local legend to regional influence. But where exactly did all this identity come from? Let's dig a bit deeper. Let's step back for a second. What really makes a city, a culture, an empire? It's not just the walls or the warriors, it's identity. And Rome, from its earliest moments, built one of the most fascinating identities the world has ever seen. The foundation of Rome wasn't just about place, it was about purpose. The Romans saw themselves as chosen, forged by gods and sharpened by history. From Romulus and Remus to Caesar and beyond, they didn't just exist. They defined what it meant to be Roman. You know what's wild? This Roman identity didn't come from a single source. It was like a mosaic, pieced together over time. The Etruscans brought in religion, engineering, and those famous arches. The Greeks, mythology, art, literacy, and the Latins, they were the homegrown roots, the original voice of the land. It's like building a playlist from different genres, but making it sound like one flawless album. The birth of Rome was cultural fusion done right, long before the term existed. And here's a little modern twist. This fusion is something we can actually apply today. Ever felt stuck between your background, your influences, your beliefs? Rome teaches us to blend, not break, to take pieces of who we are and shape something powerful. The Roman Empire didn't fear influence. It absorbed it, refined it, and made it Roman. The foundation of Rome shows us that greatness doesn't come from isolation. It comes from connection. And now, to understand how Rome structured all of this, we have to peek into their systems, their gods, and their rules. Culture is like clay. It shapes you as much as you shape it. And if the foundation of Rome had one secret weapon, it was its ability to soak up influences like a sponge and make them its own. The Etruscans, for starters, were Rome's early mentors. They taught the young city about urban planning, religious rituals, and even how to read the sky for omens. Ever seen those curved Roman arches? Thank the Etruscans. They didn't just lend knowledge, they left a permanent mark on the Roman Empire. Then come the Greeks. Oh, the Greeks. Their impact was like switching from black and white to full color. Philosophy, sculpture, alphabet, you name it. The Romans looked up to Greek thinkers the way we look up to TED Talks or genius-level documentaries. From Homer to Heracles, their myths became part of Roman stories. Romulus and Remus may be homegrown legends, but their style, it had Greek fingerprints all over it. This blend made the birth of Rome not just local, but timeless. And let's not forget the Latins, the quiet backbone of it all. Their language became Latin, the core of Roman communication, law, and power. Think of them as the original software Rome ran on. While others brought apps and upgrades, the Latins laid the operating system. When you speak Spanish, French, or Italian today, you're echoing the same roots. The foundation of Rome wasn't just about who ruled, it was about what they absorbed, kept, and passed on. And next, we dive into how they turned all this influence into real institutions. Let's peel back the curtain on what made Rome tick, its institutions. From the very start, Rome didn't just grow, it organized. Religion was at the core, not a passive private thing, but a daily public practice. They worshipped gods like Jupiter, Vesta, and of course Mars, the same Mars who, according to legend, fathered Romulus and Remus. It gave the foundation of Rome a spiritual backbone. Imagine living in a world where your city had divine approval. It created pride, loyalty, and a sense of cosmic duty. Then came the social ladder, patricios on top, plebeius on the rise. It wasn't always fair, but it was clear. And that clarity helped Rome stay functional even when tensions ran high. Think of it like early management structure: roles, responsibilities, and conflict resolution. The power wasn't in the chaos, it was in the rules. Over time, the plebeians gained more voice, especially with the creation of the tribune. The Roman Empire may have started with kings, but its roots were already preparing for republicanism. And if you're building a team or business today, structure matters more than you think. But here's where Rome really flexed: law and citizenship. Roman law wasn't just for show, it was a toolkit for empire building. Rights, duties, contracts, it was all there. And the idea of being a Roman citizen, it was powerful. People wanted in. That's how Rome expanded not just its borders, but its identity. The foundation of Rome was more than bricks and legends. It was a system that worked. And just before we close, let's glance at a timeline that stitches all these layers together into one unforgettable journey. Let's line things up, because when history feels like a blur, a timeline brings clarity. Around 1000 BC, small settlements began to pop up across the Lazio region. Nothing fancy, just scattered huts, maybe a shared fire pit, and a growing sense of belonging. But these were the first sparks of what would become the foundation of Rome. Long before the marble and the myths, it was community that mattered. People living close, trading, surviving, and unknowingly planting the seeds of empire. Then comes the iconic date, 753 BC. This is where legend and history shake hands. Romulus and Remus, the wolf-raised twins, enter the story. Romulus, after a clash with his brother, becomes the first king of Rome. Whether or not every part happened exactly that way doesn't matter as much as what it represents: leadership, sacrifice, and destiny. This symbolic birth of the city gave Romans their identity, a story to pass down, a legacy to claim. The birth of Rome wasn't just told, it was believed. Fast forward to the 7th and 6th centuries BC, and the influence of the Etruscans takes center stage. Cities get structured, temples rise, writing spreads. By 509 BC, Rome kicks out its last king and starts the Republic. That's right, the Roman Empire didn't start as an empire at all. It started as an experiment in shared power. And if we stitch all these moments together, what we get isn't just history. It's a playbook on how ideas, geography, and grit can build a civilization. You've just uncovered the gritty, powerful, and deeply human story behind the birth of Rome. It wasn't just about warriors and grand architecture. It was about the messy, raw moments that sparked greatness. But here's the real question. What can you do with this knowledge? How will you apply these ancient lessons to your own journey? Are you ready to start building your own empire one step at a time? Because just like the Romans, you have the power to turn a vision into reality, no matter where you begin. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect conditions. Rome didn't. They started with what they had and made something extraordinary. So what are you waiting for? Dive into your own journey with the wisdom of Rome behind you. And if you want more insights on building your own legacy, be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, turn on the notifications, and keep learning. Your empire is waiting.